Aloha and welcome everyone to Maui Nonprofit Notes, the weekly radio show where we talk story with Maui's nonprofit executive directors and their staff to find out how they're working to support the needs within our community. Maui Nonprofit Notes is generously sponsored by Pacific Source. If you're building or remodeling a home, you've just got to stop by Pacific Source's cabinet and appliance showroom located in the Waikapu Bayshard. I'm Susie Tiemann, Executive Director of Lokahi Pacific and President of the Maui Nonprofit Directors Association. For those of you who listen each week, you know that we share the experiences of how our nonprofit agencies are working to benefit our island home with stories of how these agencies are changing lives, changing communities, and creating miracles of hope. For those of you who are listening for the first time, today we have a couple of, actually it's really diversified today. We've got Cynthia Santiago from Ohana Makamai, which is a substance abuse treatment center in Hana. And we have Craig Swift, who's the director of MEO's Business Development Center, who's going to be talking about some business classes that are coming up. So talk about diversity. We're there, aren't we?
We are. Thanks for having me, Susie. I really appreciate being here.
Thanks for driving in and sharing some time with us. Just for a little oversight to talk about what your agency's all about and and maybe how it got started.
Sure. Well, the agency is located in the remote city of Hana in East Maui, and it's been around since 1999, so it's got a few years under it, and it really started as a program for substance abuse treatment and family resources. And it continues to be that, but it has really served East Maui families in just a myriad of ways and continues to do so.
That's terrific. Now, and it got started, I mean, was there anybody else doing anything like this, or was it something that a few people got together and said, we really need to look at this issue?
Yes, it did start with, it was the only family resource center in East Maui, and the first substance abuse treatment program out there, and continues to be the only treatment program out in East Maui. And yes, it was a number of individuals coming together, realizing that those services were needed, and they've been able to help quite a few people. There was one particular individual who was helped and continues to sustain the program to this day.
Oh, great.
I think it's offered services that otherwise people in that area would have to come and travel 2 hours to get over here, and that's really not a big motivator.
I was going to say that's a real deterrent to getting services.
Yeah, it certainly is.
Yeah, because it's I would think that it would be hard enough for them to make the decision to accept help.
It is, and it really kind of sets them up for failure if they've got to travel 2 hours to do a group,
right.
3 times a week, which is what intensive outpatient is, as required by the court. So, it really kind of sets them up.
Okay, so you get your clients come to you through the court system, and some are signing on their own?
Rarely in the field of substance abuse do people sign up on their own and come in saying, I need help for my problem. On occasion, it does happen that way. But most people need that little bit of motivation from the courts. Sometimes the family members, have something to do with it, but mostly court-ordered individuals, people with DUIs or who are on probation for just number of crimes, usually substance abuse related.
Okay, so maybe instead of spending time in jail, they're ordered to take this course of action.
That's right.
And if they complete it satisfactorily, then maybe the jail time goes away or something?
Right. They are provided this as an alternative to sentencing, usually in order for them to not have to do time. So,
right.
Yeah. And it works for many, and others have to kind of go around a few times before they get that, substances is causing them problems.
Right. And so it's something that they feel better, or they think they've accomplished something, and maybe they have. They just aren't. Are you cured?
Aren't
is that the right word?
Well, no, it is comparable to, say, like diabetes, in that people who have substance abuse addictions have to manage that about themselves.
Okay.
And then through treatment, they learn what their triggers are. They learn what to watch for, and then they have to be aware of that continuously. And that's why the support groups are so important and are integrated into treatment.
I see.
Yeah.
And this, we're talking about all ages, right?
All ages, all races.
Male, female.
Historically, been around for a very long time. It's just something that won't necessarily go away. It's just that people with addictions need that that knowledge that helps them get through and make better decisions about how they're going to get through this life.
Is there well, I'm sure there's lots of studies going on, but I mean, is there a missing gene or something in a person who tends towards addictions like this, or?
Well, there's thousands of studies, and the National Institute of Drug Abuse, also known as NIDA, which is nationally funded, does a lot of research, and anybody interested can actually go on their website and find out about any number of studies that have been going on around drugs, and lately a lot more around marijuana, just because of the whole legalization of it. But what we see mostly in Hana is either ice, people addicted to ice, or alcohol. That's what we're generally seeing in our area.
Oh, the heavy duty stuff.
Yeah. It affects the family, and since Hana's a small community with huge families and huge family ties, one person then can affect hundreds just with their behavior and their conduct, and they can also bring others down with them. It's just not just ice, but alcoholism is just pervasive.
Right.
Also.
Oh, it is in Hana.
It is everywhere, but in Hana, being a small community, there seems to be quite a lot of alcoholism.
I see.
In the community. And the motivator is usually still the court system. That is always seems to be the thing that brings them in.
Like, you have to get caught.
They get caught, yeah.
That's the motivation is what happens after they got caught.
Right. And what we hope for is that the motivation of being caught by the courts is external. A family member saying, you do this, or we're just not going to feed you anymore, or, take care of you, or be your wife, or whatever. Those are all external motivations. So through treatment, what we try to do is bring them to an understanding where they want to be well, and they want to, be part of the community and be productive. And then that becomes an internal motivation, is that growing awareness that there is something better, there's a better way that they can, resolve whatever's happening in their lives that's led them to using.
Does anybody ever just sit there and say, why can't I be normal?
I think we all do that.
Whatever normal is.
But normal.
Or the why me factor.
They do have, with the Alcoholics Anonymous and the 12-step groups, they have a term called normies.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard that. But yeah, anybody who's not, that doesn't have that propensity towards addictions is called a normie. Which reminds me, you had a question about, is there a missing gene or something? And I did want to say that there are studies that show that there is a different type of brain chemistry that occurs with people who have that propensity towards addictions. And so there's a lot of neuroscience going on right now about the constructs of the brain and how that affects people's addictions and choices. And so that's kind of the buzz thing going on in the chemical dependency field right now.
So it's not just a choice somebody makes one day to go out and start doing drugs or whatever. There's something leading them to that.
Yes, and it's fairly complex, and that's why we do very thorough evaluation that takes in family history. It takes in the childhood trauma. Even different cultures have a propensity towards alcoholism and addictions, and through that evaluation, you can determine whether or not a person has a substance abuse disorder.
I see.
Yeah. And actually, that is a new terminology that's just coming in right now through the new DSM-5, the Diagnostic Statistical Manual that is used for diagnosing mental illness. And so the terminology now is a substance abuse disorder.
Disorder.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. So now a typical, I suppose it really isn't a typical situation, but the court orders someone to go through treatment. Is this a long-term treatment that they're going to be ordered into, or 3 months, 6 months? What kind of
it depends
thing?
on the severity of the addiction, just like other illnesses. The treatment is depending on what is going on with the individual. And what Ohana Makamai offers is an intensive outpatient program, which is outpatient, so the severity is moderate, and allows the individual to go for 3 months of intensive outpatient, which is 3 days a week of treatment with individual sessions and family sessions as needed. From that stage, then they go on to outpatient, which then becomes either once a week or once a month, depending on their needs.
Okay, and it's seeing their progress.
As they progress. But someone with more severe needs, of course, is going to go through a residential inpatient program.
Right, which would be here in town or on Oahu or wherever they might be sent.
Right. What we have is not inpatient, but we do have a sober living house. And that is for people coming out of inpatient programs, needing that support, that sober support, allowing them to transition into a sober living lifestyle.
Okay. So they might be at Aloha House for the inpatient, and then as they transition, they'd come to your sober house.
Right.
And then they would eventually move back into the family setting or wherever they lived.
Right. And that's the ideal is that we would give them a place to live, to find work in the community, find a place to live, kind of, build them up and support them in every which way that we could, and help them strengthen themselves, of course. So it's a resource.
Right. So is finding them work one of the hardest parts of being in Hana?
Yes, because work, of course, is limited out there. We do get a number of people coming from this side of the island or even other islands who just need that extra time to live a sober, clean lifestyle. And they may not necessarily, be looking for work, but they'll engage in work in the area until they're ready to go back to wherever, their family is or wherever they want to live.
Okay, so not everybody involved in the program is from Hana.
No, we get quite a few people from Kahului or Kihei or Molokai and other areas, and it just serves to give them that extra time that they need to just sometimes even be away from their community and get strengthened even further. So they can stay, anywhere from, 3 to 9 months, and it's we only have availability for 5 adult males. So it's adult males only. Yeah.
So there is something to the change of scenery sometimes.
And it's beautiful scenery out there.
It is.
So,
I was just out there a couple weeks ago again. Yeah.
It's very nice. The actual home sits on a hill overlooking the ocean, and it's prime property, and they can sit on the balcony and meditate and do what they need to do to get well.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
Wow, that's great. Now, payment for this program, because the courts ordered it. Is it paid through the court system?
Well, we have funding that comes through the state and the county, actually, for our programs. And so that's subsidized. But we do ask residents to pay a minor fee of about $50 a week when they're able and established.
I see. Okay. On that note, we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And we are back. This is Maui Nonprofit Notes, and we're talking story with Cynthia Santiago, who's the executive director of Ohana Makamai, and located in Hana, beautiful Hana, and she's ready to say something. I can see it.
No.
No? Oh, okay. She gets this great smile on her face, and it's like, I want to know what you're thinking.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. I'm wondering what you're going to ask next. So I've got a big smile just in preparation.
Anticipation. Gotcha. Well, we were talking before the break about the house, the transitional house, and then about getting jobs, et cetera, for folks who are going through the program. And we talked a little bit about the predisposition to having a substance abuse issue,
Right.
With some of the brain studies that are going on and so forth. So is this something that's genetic?
Well, the genetic piece of it has been around for a very long time, and there have been many studies duplicated, and there's scientific evidence to show that there is linkages between genetics and addictions, in particularly as it's passed down through family members. If your father has alcoholism and your grandfather, then it's highly likely that you also will have that disease of addiction. Also, they've done twin studies that have shown that twins who've been adopted by different families who have the same parents who are also addicted to drugs or have addictions. There's been studies that show that that twins will also have that predisposition.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So lots of studies in that area.
Yeah, I would think so. There's, a lot of times I've heard people say, well, that's how he grew up in a family with drugs on one side and alcoholism on the other side. What do you expect them? How do you expect them to turn out?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, at some point they should have a mind of their own. And what I'm hearing you say is not necessarily.
Right, not necessarily. And the root of the cause, can't be determined 100%. And while some people might have that genetic disposition, others may have been just subject to the environmental causes, things going on in their lives, their family, their upbringing, choices that they've made. Drugs and alcohol are physically addictive, and people may find themselves in a culture of addiction, whether or not it's genetic or cultural or environmental. Mainly we're going to be addressing the problem and the problems that addictions are causing in that person's life.
Okay, so I know when people talk about ice and how dangerous it is, you can't just try it. Once you've tried it, you're hooked.
That's what I hear.
That's what all the publicity is on it, right?
That's right.
But
best not to try it.
Yeah, yes, just stay away from it.
Absolutely.
You don't need to try it. But in other situations, as we're talking about family situations, you look at some people and it's like, well, if I drink a little, it takes the edge off of what's going on at home.
Right. Yeah, so does jogging around the block, and, reading a good book, having a good friend, have a good laugh. There's so many things that are constructive rather than destructive. And that's what we want to focus on, is using those things that are really going to, perpetuate more life in you, and rather than cause more problems.
Right.
Yeah.
That's terrific. That's a great comeback to that comment. And I've not quite heard it that way, but I like that one.
Thank you.
Because that's reality. There's so much out there to enjoy and to be a part of. Why would you just want to take an edge off of something that's bad in your life?
Right.
Go seek that good and get involved with that.
That's one way to do it. And the other thing is that bad happens per se. You
Right.
know, life is full of ups and downs.
Right.
And
Bad things happen to good people.
That's right. And even you can be completely, stone sober, and things will happen, and you have to accept that there is pain in life. And sometimes that is difficult for a culture such as ours, where we want a quick fix for everything. We
Right.
cannot accept sadness or pain or, moments of tragedy without wanting to fix it. And so that's another part of staying sober and realizing through treatment and through maturity that there's just times that are going to be difficult.
Right. Do you work with too many people, or very many people that like prescription drug issues?
Well, we don't
Okay.
work with a lot of people that are using prescription drugs. We do with some, but it is an epidemic across the nation, and Hawaii is not an exception, and neither is Hana. What we usually see is people coming in with offenses related to alcohol or ice, and then we realize there's more going on. So it's a little bit hidden because it comes with a prescription. So it's just something that really is a little bit tricky because it comes prescribed.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I guess one of the scariest things I've heard this year was a realtor was talking about when they have open houses, telling the people in the house to put all your prescription drugs in a safe place. Don't leave them in the medicine cabinet where you usually have them, because people will come to an open house and look through the bathrooms for prescription drugs. And I said, you've got to be kidding. Who would do that? And they go, trust me, it happens.
It does. And there's a lot of resourcefulness for people to meet their needs. But also there's a big market. And, there's a big market for all kinds of narcotics and mostly opiates, of course.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big money maker, too.
Wow. It's a scary world out there in some circles, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I noticed you hesitated on that one.
Well, because it's combined with the wonderful world,
Right.
too.
It's all one big world.
We have families that have everything, and we have success, and then we have people who need help, and I think our society right now is showing real signs of needing help, and that we have huge problems with prescription drug addiction.
Is it on the rise?
It's been on the rise, and it's become, the number one problem.
Epidemic.
Nationwide, yeah.
Wow.
And opiates are difficult to treat in that there's a high recidivism, there's a big withdrawal, the tolerance increases, so people can have very, very deep addictions.
Oh, wow. Keeps getting deeper and deeper. Yeah.
But there's a lot of help also.
There's a lot of help out there, and it's
Yeah.
great to see that you guys are open. And about how many people would you have in your system over there in one time through the various programs?
We have our sober living house, which houses 5 males, adults, and then we have our intensive outpatient program, where we can serve anywhere from 1 to 12 individuals. And then we have our school-based program, and that can run anywhere from 10 to 20 youth at a time.
And school-based being what age group?
Junior high through high school,
Okay.
up to 17. So
Okay.
they've been running the adolescent program for quite some time. And adolescents, of course, have their own unique way of thinking. So we have to have unique programs,
Right.
to suit their needs and try to deter them from going down the wrong path.
Right. Now, a lot of folks who live in Hana tend to stay in Hana.
Right.
Is that still true of like this age group? Or are we going to see them living in Hana in 10 years?
I believe so. I have to say I've only been in Hana 8 months, and I'm in the process of just still learning so much. I've got a lot more to learn. But from what I've seen and heard is that the families are just multi-generational,
Right.
and the students, they actually get a lot of scholarships to go away and, get degrees and they just generally come back.
Come back.
Yeah.
I know when I was out there a couple weeks ago, as I mentioned earlier, there were a lot of folks who had just moved back. And it was kind of interesting to see. They went out, they tried some stuff on the mainland, but there's no place like Hana.
Well, no, they just have all those family members.
Right.
There's cousins and uncles and the huge,
Right.
barbecues and the beach. And there's so much support. And a lot of them have family land. And so there's housing there. And it's just a lifestyle that you can't really afford in the mainland.
Right.
Yeah.
So how can someone get a hold of you if they want some more information on the issue and how to address it? You've got a phone number, just 248-8538?
Yes, call 248-8538 and ask for Ronnie or Cynthia. We offer gender-specific treatment as well for people who, like women who want to speak specifically with a female counselor. We want to make sure that they're served appropriately and sensitively. So.
Terrific. Cynthia, thank you so much for being with us. Fast half hour, isn't it?
It is. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.
And Ohana Makamai, keep up the good work, and I think they're really lucky to have you.
Great. Bless you. Thank you so
Super.
much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Craig, are you ready? He shakes his head yes. We're
work on radio.
Yeah, I know. It's like we don't have Skype on today, Craig. You're going to have to talk.
That's good.
That's good.
That's
Okay. I know that's everybody's first idea is to just, okay. And when I first started doing the show, I'd be sitting here and I'd be doing all kinds of things with my hands. And we had co-hosts from time to time, and they'd say, Susie, what's the hand stuff? And I go, I can't talk without my hands. But you noticed, Cynthia, during our conversation, did my hands move?
I didn't notice. I was looking at your eyes. And they moved. They smiled.
Moved. They very good. Okay, that's good. But I try to keep them now down in front of me and just keep them there. And then I don't distract from you and what you've got to say. So, Craig, you're up. What's the MEO Business Development Center up to these days?
Well, thanks for having me, Susie, and that was great information, Cynthia. That's
good.
Very interesting. And
Thank you.
And with our program, we at the Business Development Center have been busy with our training and our technical assistance and our micro lending. So those are the three areas that we keep busy.
People are still starting businesses.
They are. They are.
What's the most? This is a tough one. What's the most interesting business that's come across your desk since you started there?
Oh, that is a difficult one.
Think about that. Maybe we'll catch that on the tail end of the
Okay.
show, and you get some chance to think about it. But I know that every once in a while I'll hear from somebody about something they're thinking about starting, and you kind of go, I don't know if that really can be a business or not. It sounds more like a hobby that kind of a thing. But whatever. I mean, you just never know.
You don't. And so many of them that. Excuse me, that start in the marketplace right now. For instance, this last class had an individual looking to start a restaurant, and we know that there's
Yeah, we just had a restaurant close in our building, so
there's a lot of risks there. But the thing I find interesting is this woman had grown up in Fiji, and but Indian background as well to fuse the two foods, and looking to do a Fiji Indian food restaurant. Yeah, and the curry, and had a recent committee meeting, and we provided lunch, and boy, sampled the food, and there was nothing but praise. So
really,
yeah,
wow.
You're never quite sure in some of these areas, but so much of it depends on them. That is the entrepreneur taking it upon themselves to learn how to do it right, and that's where we come in with the Core 4 training. You can wake up and say, I'd like to be my own boss. That's that's often, I think, a worthy goal, and one to certainly try to get to if you feel that's right for you. But at the same time, you need the tools to make sure that you got at least the best chance going forward, because it's tough. It's competitive out there. The marketplace isn't easy. So for the small businesses, and particularly of you know, those that are not only starting in business, and so many are in the class, the Core 4 class, are actually in business, and they come back and say, now I want to find out how to do it
Yeah,
right.
right. Yeah.
I made all the mistakes.
But the good news is they made the mistakes. They've kind of gotten their way through it, and now they're ready to be serious about being in business and do it right and be successful.
Right. Yeah.
And that I think is the key thing. And it's, you know, it's always been interesting to me as I've watched businesses start up and close up. It's like, did they close too soon? Did they just give up instead of fighting a little more, fixing a little more, whatever the case might have been? Your thoughts on that?
Well, what I found is that actually those that tend, unfortunately, to fail often are those with the greatest promise. And sounds a little counterintuitive, but what happens is they start to grow and they lack some of the money management and paying attention to some areas if they paid attention to, because as you know, growing takes capital. And if they're starting on a shoestring, that unless they're attentive to that cash management or understand how it works, they literally grow themselves out of business.
Right.
And that's what's unfortunate, when you see the promise there in the marketplace and they're just not able to make that next step. Yeah.
It always intrigues me when somebody says, my goal in life is to have a successful business and not have any loans. And I think, you know, at some point you're going to have to. You're going to have find an investor or a lender of some sort, because you really can't grow, as you said, grow to any significant size without having a major investment or infusion of cash. You can't really have the goal of being a successful, growing business and no debts. Am I right?
It's true, but I think there's a lot of opportunities in terms of capitalizing your business without, say, just your typical going to the bank or going to MEO for a microloan. And that's something, where you can get your suppliers. You need that inventory, you need to get it, and you can get those terms. That's cash. That's cash for 30 days, 45 days that you can use someone else's money, sell your products, and go back out. But easier said than done. As you know, startups, and then that gets us to the credit issues. And
Right.
that's something, again, with the Core 4 classes, which we're going to be starting up what would be September 10th. Be the Tuesday, and next week we're going to have some intro classes. The 1-hour intro classes talks about what the Core 4, what to expect, and they're going to be next week Tuesday from 6 to 7 at MEO, and Thursday from 6 to 7 at MEO, and then from 1 to 2 at the Maui Business Resource Center in Maui Mall. So any of those days you're welcome, to encourage you to actually attend if you're considering the class, because it's a commitment. As you know, Susie, and you've seen so many of the students go through that, you get excited.
Yeah.
And then, then the reality, and by the time you
Right.
get to operations where you're only talking about taxes and insurance.
And that's at the tail end, folks. That's not at the beginning. It's at the tail end. Yeah, it's like I can remember making the statement to some of the students that, if you really aren't serious about doing this, don't sign up. Or come if you want, because there's also good personal level information in the classes.
Right.
But it's geared towards business, and while it may help you with your home budget and so forth and so on, the whole focus should be on, even if you're not going to start it this year, next year, if you're like, I can remember a bunch of people who were looking at retiring from whatever jobs they had with the major companies and saying, okay, that's like 4 or 5 years off. Can I take the class now? Will it help me prepare? Of course it will. I had one guy that I remember who took 3 years to prepare. He took another 1.5 years to buy all the equipment he was going to need because he was looking for it at auctions and sales and so forth. But when he opened and built up his potential client list, when he opened the door with like 5 crews ready to go out. And he has built from that point on. Just spoke to him the other day, and he's got 7 crews out there now, and did have all through the recession. Never had to take a step back. I mean, this guy, he was focused on what he was doing. He understood that he'd have to make some changes along the way, you know, and kind of what's the word I want? Model what he was doing after how things were changing in the economics of it all. But a success story extraordinaire. I mean, just incredible. He came back and he took the cash flow section 3 times. He said, because I don't get it. But when he got it, I mean, I've never seen the light bulb before, but I saw it with him. We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
Aloha from Pacific Source, and thank you for your support over the years. Pacific Source has offered more of what builders and homeowners value most in building materials and cabinet design. We've done this by offering superior customer service and products, as well as by designing kitchens and baths that are intelligent and elegant while staying true to your vision and budget. Visit our showroom in Waikapu in Central Maui, where we display a variety of cabinets as well as top-name appliances like Sub-Zero, Wolf, Viking, KitchenAid, and more. We display countertops, tile and wood flooring, and several brands of windows and doors, including Fleetwood multi-slides and La Cantina folding doors. Come in and talk to our designers about making your dreams become a reality. From concept to completion, we really believe our attention to detail and superior service are what sets us apart. Let us show you what we mean. We are a Pacific Source at 515 East Oahe Way in the Consolidated Base Yard in Waikapu, just off Waiko Road. Call us at 986-0380. That's 986-0380, or look us up online at packsource.com.
And welcome back. We are Maui Nonprofit Notes here on Wednesday at noon, talking story with our nonprofit folks and what they're doing to make our community the best it can be. Right now, we're talking story with Craig Swift, who's the director for MEO, Maui Economic Opportunity. For those of you who are not familiar with MEO, their Business Development Center program. Core 4 being one of the big, probably the biggest portion of what you do, isn't it? Core
It is.
4
In
and graduates and so forth?
In the area of training. And again, so much of it, referrals that we do get to the Core 4 class come from the banks. They recognize people come in, and one of the first things that they'll ask them is, where's your business plan? Well, you want to borrow $50,000. They'll say, business plan?
Yeah, what's that?
What's that?
Right.
And if you go, individuals that come to the class, they go, well, you can get a lot of information on business plans. And why are you here? And then they'll go, because the classroom setting, and the interaction, and this, Susie, is that there's 6 weeks, it goes by quickly, but by the time the class is done, there's bonding there's networking that's happened. And you have an opportunity, if you will, to test trial your ideas and your thoughts. And if you're open to other people coming and giving you advice, which, I suggest, hopefully, exactly, you're going to come out better. And I would say, wouldn't you say, maybe it's as many as 25%, 1 out of 4 start with one idea. And by the end of the class, the Core 4 planning class, they've actually changed it altogether.
Yeah, changed directions. And a lot of that comes from the fact that once they start actually putting this plan together and thinking through it, which is the whole point of the plan, you can sit down and answer a bunch of questions just off the top of your head, but the class makes you think about your answers. And I think what's going on in a lot of people is when they get to starting to look at those numbers and how things work, it's like, well, yeah, that was a great idea, but I can't make any money at it. Or the scope has to be so much greater than what I thought it would be. I thought I could do this for 6 hours a day and have plenty, it would work great. And then you find, no, gosh, you're going to have to be open almost 24/7 to make enough money to support your family. Or it's a part-time job, or it's a hobby.
Yeah, that's
or expand into another area, maybe related to what you wanted to do. And yeah, you're right. I think you're right. Maybe even it's a little higher than that.
Yeah, that there's a change. And at the end of the day, there are those also with the class that say, I'm so thankful for going to the class because I understand now that this really isn't what I thought it was going to be. Because there's a self-assessment, as you know, in the class. But it's information that can be used throughout your life. Be it whether you're going into business or not, it's good information in terms of just managing what's going on around you and what you're doing and how you're moving forward in any career, I think.
Right. I think you're right. And it's not a waste of time in any way, shape, or form, because I always used to think if you could take this class and at the end you decide, what the heck was I thinking? This is not for me. I have 3 bad days with creditors. I don't want to go and open the store tomorrow. I don't want to answer the phones. You're going to miss that one call that could be the turnaround of the whole business. Don't do it.
Yeah.
But you're not out anything.
Right.
You haven't invested in a space. You haven't invested in inventory, personnel, whatever the case might be. All you've got is your investment in of time and effort into the class. And what are you charging these days for the class?
We have a $300 tuition for the class. There is financial aid available thanks to the Mayor's Office of Economic Development, and it's on a sliding scale, and it's household income. So
okay.
most of the students will receive some form of financial aid. But again, you just need to enroll. The enrollment is quite simple. You can come by MEO's office, which is in the Cameron Center, and you can enroll Monday through Friday from 8 to 4. And then also, as I had mentioned, next week on the intro classes, there'll be an opportunity for you to enroll. And if you can't make any of those, then the first night, again, is September 10th, Tuesday, 6 o'clock at the MEO Cameron Center, classrooms downstairs. I suggest you may want to get there early if you haven't enrolled, maybe about 5:30 or so, and we can get you enrolled because we'll find room for you. If you're interested and committed to this Core 4 program that both Susie and I know has made a remarkable difference in a lot of people's lives. We just encourage you to certainly look to see what it's about and make the commitment to yourself and look forward to seeing you.
Terrific. Yeah, there's no such thing as a waste of time going to the Core 4 class. It's just, even if it's just the contacts with other people. And I think, and I'm sure you've seen this too, sometimes you get some partnerships, maybe not formally
That
created,
is an interesting side.
but
Yep. It happens.
They start to rely on each other for input and so forth, and sometimes that comes from somebody who's in business already and somebody who's thinking of starting, somebody who's been there, done that. Maybe their approach didn't work, but this new approach really sounds intriguing. Just the whole thing about business, because we I keep thinking, is there a business can be started that we haven't seen yet? And there really is. It's unlimited, and in today's world, have you come up with an answer to my question yet? The most unique?
The most unique. Yeah, that is it.
Okay, we'll keep that on the back burner. It's the other thing that you've got coming up is a thing called Smart Money, a series is that through the SBDC?
It is SBDC, SBA, Smart Money. They've had the sessions over on Oahu, and of course we always are happy when they can finally get them over to Maui, and that's going to start this Friday at registration is 8:30. Again, MEO, the classroom's downstairs, and if you haven't registered, you can that morning, I believe. But if you do have interest, you can call me and I will get you a flyer. I'm sorry I don't have exactly SBDC's number right now to reach them, but for either the Core 4 classes or for the sessions coming up that Susie mentioned on the Money Smart is 249-2990. I'm just giving you MEO's number, and just ask for Craig Swift or the Business Development Center, someone that can help you there, and we'll get that information to you. Because they will, the the sessions, there'll be 5 sessions. They'll be each on Friday mornings, starting this Friday. First one will be on business formation, business entities. So if you don't know, I don't know if I want to be a corporation or a sole proprietor, you'll get the answers that you need then. And then I think they move into taxes, some area, and then into finance, the third. Fourth, they'll have a marketing and finish up, which is, what certainly, I don't know what you want to call it, it's a relevant topic, and that's social media. And how to market yourself with what's out there now in today's various. And maybe you could shed on some of that, Susie.
Actually, I saw a presentation last night over at the Maui Humane Society on what the social media is doing for them. They're at the point where if somebody posts something to their Facebook, within an hour they get an answer or a response. And I'm sitting there going, how, what, and it's like everybody's so in tune to this thing that the person who's supposed to should respond to it, depending on what department it's about, whether it's dogs, lost dogs, trying to adopt a dog, wanting to send a dog to the mainland someplace, or whatever the case might be, their internal network is so good that they just, let that person know, hey, you got to respond to this, and bam, it goes out. And it's like, 4,000 hits just like that. And then you're sitting there going, 4,000 hits? What the heck? And it's like everything that's going on over there has jumped by 20-30% as a result of this immediate reactions to questions and issues. And it's like, okay, I get that, but how does a 1 or 2 person operation handle this? And they go, it has to become part of your business. It's not like we all looked and said, hey, websites. I mean, is that old time or what? And in today's world, it is. If you don't have a website, you're not in business. And yet, I still have trouble thinking first to look for a website for somebody to get their phone number. I pick up the phone book. That's old. They tell me I'm old because I do that. You're supposed to go on the computer, get their website, and call them that way or contact us that way. Okay, whatever, But the websites were the big thing. It wasn't that long ago, 5 years ago?
That's right.
Maybe.
And look at now.
Yeah.
With what's going on. Yeah.
And it's just, everything has just become so fast. And that's the market. I mean, and people are into it regardless of their age.
Yeah.
Because that has nothing to do with it. But it was really intriguing between the Facebook, the tweeting, and the whatever in something, Instagrams, and something else. I mean, I'm sitting there just, hello. You lost me back on the Facebook because, I'm on Facebook, but I don't know how to send you something from my Facebook. I never learned that part, I guess I got to get with it.
Well, that's what I enjoy with the teaching of the classes as much as anything is that I look at myself as a facilitator, and every class, and they know, and I'll tell them straight up, is there's a lot that I'm learning all the time.
Right.
And in this area, it's remarkable, Susie, what will come out. I mean, they'll pull out their cards, and you can scan the cards, and you can go right to their websites, and you can do some things that just 4 or 5 years ago really wasn't happening.
Right.
So it's exciting. And then, you just ask, and it starts the conversation, the dialogue, and everyone else wants to get on board. And that's where, again, the networking that we talked about, because you just got to, if you learn as you go in this business, you're just a foot up. Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it sounds like that the Core 4 class is set to go. You've got now, everybody's a teacher, right, on your staff?
Yeah, everybody
can teach it?
Teach
Okay.
the class.
Who's doing this
I'm
one?
going to be doing this one.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, coming
Okay.
up.
Okay, great. And then you've got Ku'ule over on Molokai.
On Molokai, in fact, she just started last night her class for the Core 4 class.
That's right. She was,
So,
when I was over there.
it's not too late. Those on Molokai, give Ku'ule a call because she'll find room for you too.
Yeah.
We'd like to see you.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, when I was over there for our small business revitalization grant workshops, She and Jennifer at the Kuhau Business Center were talking about her Core 4 classes and some other stuff they're working on. And boy, it's exciting to see what's happening on Molokai business-wise.
Yeah.
You know, it's like there's a period where everything is just about ready to bust wide open, you know, and then it kind of goes into a slowed off, you know, period. But it looks right now like it's just ready to start blooming. I think there's going to be a lot of new stuff going on over there. And there already is some. But doing those workshops for that grant was kind of interesting to see what
I
people
bet.
were looking for money to do.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that's encouraging, you know, because Molokai is one of our areas that we're always a little worried about because it's, you know, there's a lot of kids coming out of high school over there that aren't sure where to go, what to do. And I kind of like Hana, but a little bigger.
Mm-hmm.
So it was good to be over there and to find two people like Kule and Jennifer working so well together and trying
Yeah.
to help the community snap out of it, if you will.
Yeah.
A lot of for rent signs over there.
So I agree. I think there's some opportunities coming up, and we're just here to help. That's and serve, and so any information, again, technical assistance, training, micro lending, you know, give us a call there at MEO's Business Development Center. Love to hear from you.
249-2990, right? Right. Now, on the micro lending, these are loans for people who can't get bank loans, right?
Right. They're what you might consider non-traditional. So most of them will go to startup businesses, and it can be small, $500 and over, and yet a lot of the micro borrowers are not startup. I mean, I shouldn't say you don't certainly need to be a startup to qualify because it's difficult out there. Commercial banking, lending, you know, they have some criteria that, you know, reasonably so because they're lending out other people's money that they're going to be quite restrictive on. So there could be issues with credit or there could be some other, but come in and we'll talk through that because, you know, if again, it goes back to the business plan. If it's viable and feasible and you have the kind of dedication to it, then the financing will find you. There's money out there.
That's a promise. It's out there. You just have to find the
Right.
right spot. Now, you were in business for yourself at one point as well.
Yeah.
So you're talking from experience, and I think that's a great part of working with that class is having that personal knowledge to know that when you're saying something, it's coming from experience. I've seen people who just the book learning and reading from a book, and there's a whole different world. So it's just really exciting to see that. So Craig, good luck to you.
Oh, thanks, Susie. No, we
folks-
share our passion with small business, so
we
we
do.
could talk all day.
We do, and Gary's saying it's time to get out of here. So today we visited with Ohana Makamai and with MEO's Business Development Center. We got an update on what their agencies are doing. We encourage everyone out there to get involved by giving, advocating, or volunteering for your favorite nonprofit. We'll be back here again next week. KAOI 1110 AM, 96.7 FM will feature representatives from two more agencies. Maui Nonprofit Directors Association is thrilled to sponsor this show. I'm Susie Tiemann, your host. See you next week. Aloha.